Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel, guys. I joke around about a lot of things, but thanking you and everything that you guys have done for me, changing my life, giving me this platform, and making time out of your day to share it with me is something that I will always hold precious and I will always take seriously. Guys, I had the opportunity to speak and interview Corey Micciolo's grandmother, Rebecca Micciolo. I'm very humbled when I speak to the parents or grandparents of a child that is no longer with us. The legacy of that child is something that I want to share, and I think we want to share in keeping that legacy alive. And we watched the sentencing of Christopher Gregor together. We were all very disappointed. And we were all heartbroken when we heard Brianna Micciolo and Rebecca Micciolo talk about Corey. I was able to do this interview, which was very heartbreaking, though I didn't share it during the interview. I can't even imagine what this family has gone through. But I wanted to share this interview with you in hopes that you will take something from it. Something that was so negative that will be turned into something positive in the legacy of Corey Micciolo. So guys, if you'll please, join me in listening to this interview, because I think when we're done with it, it's going to make us better people. It's going to show us grace. I believe that. Let's listen up, guys. And guys, everybody that contributed, everybody that changed their photo, everybody that wore blue that day, everybody that wrote to the judge, I can't thank you enough. So this is my interview with the grandmother of Corey Micciolo, Rebecca Micciolo. All right, guys. I do want to tell you that I'm sorry because I was disappointed. I know that the community was disappointed, so I can only imagine how disappointed you and Brianna both are.
Well, Bree said she's okay with it. I mean, she really doesn't have a choice. You got to be okay with it. We can't change it.
I got to also tell you that your letter, as well as, Brianna's, but your letter just totally took me out. And I thought to myself, man, no matter how much he's going to give, I know he's got to throw on more years for that letter. Yeah.
He
Why?
had his mind made up before this sentencing, and I'm writing to him, to the judge. I know it doesn't change anything, and it's not going to be a belittling or condescending letter. I'm just going to let him know that I'm very unhappy and that I don't understand the justice system. I don't, and I don't claim to, but I do know that Chris was in a lot more trouble than anybody ever knew about. I can pull up the record. Why can't the judge?
I think he said, what he said was that he pulled up certain things, but like they would dead end, like they would be thrown out. Like, and that,
Wonder why.
yeah, and that's definitely because of the dad, like I think that's, I, he, this is what I got from the judge. And, it's sad because it is a pattern that is the cause of a lot of the things that happen in this world. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get somebody on domestic violence and then you let them out and then the next crime is sexual, and then you let them out and then the next crime is murder. And it's like,
Right.
well, where'd that come from? Well, you should have paid attention to the
You're
pattern.
like, oh boy, we didn't see this coming,
Exactly. Exactly. So I think what the judge was saying, and I'm sure what the judge was saying, was like, none of this stuff he was charged with, so I can't punish him for it. And it's unfair because he wasn't charged with it simply because he knew somebody, his dad,
Right.
his
Right.
dad. So, and that's what's heartbreaking is because something more, and first of all, he's going to be a young guy when he gets out. He's going to be younger than me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and he has the opportunity men do, having children very late in life. So what does that say?
Exactly.
What does that say?
And what do you think about David Gregor trying to take the floor yesterday so he could do a rebuttal to everything that we said? He thought we were on trial again, and he
Yeah.
has documentation. He's got shit. He's got what his bastard son told him,
Right.
and that's all he's got.
Right.
Because if he's got DCP&P records, I can assure you they're not making them look good. So I don't know what he's referring to, unless he went on an excavating mission, being the retired cop that he is. But even then, he can dig really far and deep. He's got nothing on me. I can tell you, I don't do anything wrong. And if I did, I don't get caught. Let me tell you that. Just saying, I'm not, I don't break the law. He's not going to find anything on my family. I don't know. I took it as a threat yesterday when he said something to the something about, I don't know how exactly he worded it, but he was going to have to put things out, put things out there and set the record straight or something for his family. I took that as a threat, like that we're not done with him yet.
Yeah, he
But
was talking about social media and how, because the judge was saying, listen, I didn't take anything they said that didn't have anything to pertain to the case. And maybe I should have stopped them, but I let them go ahead and speak. But it's not going to affect, what it, I know what belongs in this case. I know what I can punish him for. Basically, you know what I'm saying? That's what he was saying. He was saying everything else, forget about it. Don't. And that's when David Gregor said, yeah, but it's not just this, it's social media as well. The video alone of his son and that treadmill. First of all, I don't know how many people, and I'm so glad that the judge actually brought it up. I don't know how many people realize how long that video actually
I
is,
know, I
because
know.
of the amount of time Corey is running before his dad comes up to
Right,
him and turns that speed up. He's running several minutes at a very fast pace as it is, and he's 6 years old. Like,
right.
it's unbelievable. But why do you think the judge, like, I did see a bit of what Brianna said in the car when she was talking to Jay, and she basically, I don't I don't want to say she felt 25 years was fair, but she felt 25 years, I think, and she shared this with me before, that at least more or less that it would be taken serious, that it was more than just a smack on the wrist. But and she doesn't feel like that he meant to unalive him. But the thing is, what's the end result if it continues? I mean, what do you think the end result's going to be?
As far as with
The end
Chris.
result, if you continue to torture your kid, what's the end
Oh,
result?
yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, we're talking about a guy who has a master's degree. He works with children. He's not a stupid man. He didn't know that if you keep pummeling a kid
Of
that,
course.
you're 260 pounds. I'm not buying the 220. I don't care what they say. He's about 260. You keep beating on a child like that in his chest and abdomen, and you think he's going to be okay?
Absolutely. See,
You
that's
know,
the thing.
what did he think was going to happen?
Well, what does anybody think, honestly,
Right,
is going to, you have two ways to look at it. He was going to torture him for the rest of his life, or he was going to take it away. I mean, what's the other, so
right.
is both of them just, they're just as bad,
Right.
I
I
mean,
don't agree with the 5 years for that. With that video, it should have been the maximum on that charge.
well, and
I
I
am
thought he
so
was
sorry.
going
I
to.
think the judge got that wrong, and I'm going to write him a letter. It's not going to matter. It's not going to change anything, but I think he got that wrong. It was right there in his face, the video.
And he
Why didn't he
commented
get
on the
10
video.
years?
And he commented on that video several times. The worst part, and this is what kept coming up in the community chat, was that he could have got a plea deal for 30. And so
Right.
he looked at that, kind of scoffed in the face and said, yeah, I could do better. Like, he had that
Because
kind of
I
confidence.
think he knew he could.
He
I
had that
think his
kind of
attorney
confidence.
advised him. They knew.
He had that kind of confidence
Yep.
that he could do better. And so let me ask you, because now, he's going to get out of jail and he's going into prison. So that's a different setting all the way around.
Right.
Um, what do you think it looks like for him there?
Well, I can tell you, um, I don't know if he's going to go to Trenton State Rawway. Rawway is a very intimidating building in itself, just driving by it. It has this weird like dome on top of it. I've been inside there. I actually went there weekly to visit a friend who was there, and it stinks. It's the ugliest color of green that you can imagine. It's it's just intimidating just to be in there. And I know he's been in county, and I don't know what county looks like, but in the visitation room alone, when you go for in-person visits at Rawway, which I don't know if they still do that or not, but you are in this cafeteria. There are guards present, but the inmates and their families are present. And I don't think that a guard can protect every single person in there if something were to happen. And some of these people were very intimidating, these other inmates.
Right.
And, you know, it was the person I was visiting just kept saying, oh, don't look at them. You know, like, don't look at them, just talk to me.
Right, right,
Like, in
right.
other words, like, don't make eye contact, like, don't, you know. And I kind of yesterday was thinking to myself, wow, imagine David and Carolyn sitting in that cafeteria with those common inmates. How would they feel? You know, and I hope that's what they have to do. I don't know. Trenton's supposed to be worse. I don't know. I've never been in there, but I mean, I think any prison is bad, don't you? I just,
Well, I used to work in a jail, and I actually have been to a few prisons because I used to sell greeting cards to them like 100 years ago before they
oh,
were actually selling greeting cards. But I worked in a jail for several years in Arlington, Virginia, and the thing, see, and I explained this on my channel as well, is that the thing about jail is that everybody that goes to prison goes to jail, but not
hmm.
everybody that's in jail goes to prison. So if you have a short sentence, right? If you have a hello, gorgeous. If you have
Oh,
a
that's Willow.
Willow, if you have a short sentence and it doesn't allot the time of prison, so you'll do your time in jail, okay, in the county jail. And before you're awaiting your sentencing and you're going to trial, you do your time in county jail. All of these factors put you on your best behavior because either you're going to go see a judge, and the way you behave in jail is going to matter. So that's going to affect.
Sorry, my cat was attacking someone.
That's okay. Everything okay?
Yeah, we're good. She made it.
Okay. So either you're gonna be on your best behavior because you're gonna sit in front of a judge and you're gonna go for sentencing, or your time is only so much time. So you want to be on your best behavior because you're going to be getting out at some point. But
Right,
in prison, it's different because in prison, people are looking at decades,
right,
and it's not so in their face. And his dad, first of all, they don't like what he did to kids. They don't like that.
right,
But not only don't they like that, they don't like who his dad is.
right,
I think he's going to pay for who his dad is because
right,
I don't know, maybe his dad has put some of those people away in there.
right,
They don't like the fact that his dad's a cop. End of. They don't like that.
right,
I can see him paying the price for that and also paying the price for bullying a child, let alone
right,
his own. So I
right.
I'm hopeful that there will be some prison punishment there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I always like to think, you know, those people that are in prison for life, what do they got to lose? What's the judge going to give them if they get in trouble while they're there?
They
More life? I mean,
No,
you know.
what happens is usually, those people either they're already in like 23 hours in the hole and 1 hour out, so they're not going to be in contact so much, and especially in somebody with capital punishment, same difference. But somebody who's doing a long stretch of time, they don't really want to go into the hole because
Right.
I mean, that's prison within a prison, but
Right.
it depends on what means more to them. If they're able to harm, a New Jersey State Trooper's kid, there might, you know what I mean? That might be enough of an incentive to join a gang or God knows what. You know what I mean? There's all,
Right.
prison politics among the inmates. And it depends on what kind of, prices on his head. I don't think his paperwork's going to look good. I think his trial
No.
was um, shown enough that people know who he is if they see him coming into the wing of the jail or
Hmm.
the prison, that they'll know who he is and what he's there for and who his dad is.
Right.
And
I
when
was
we're talking, I'm sorry,
no,
when
I'm sorry.
we're talking about him visiting his son, you know, like nobody's gonna nobody's really gonna appreciate a retired cop sitting in there either.
Right. And he sticks out like a sore thumb because he's so stiff, like you can just look at him and see, like, there's the cop, he just something about him.
Right, 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 right.
He's a pompous prick, telling you. Somebody said yesterday, um, I don't know where I heard this during the day, that Chris has teamed up with the Mexican population in county, whatever that means. And I guess they protect him. I don't know what he gives them. But so maybe he's going to try that in prison. But I'm thinking in prison, they might be gang members there.
There would be gang
So,
members. There'd be gang members in county as well. They try to like do the best they can by,
right,
unfortunately, the job of these correctional officers or deputies, whomever's working in the place in New Jersey, their job is to protect, which is so ironic. Like, what about the protection before for the victims that are no longer? You know,
right, exactly.
so, I mean, their job is to protect. They don't want to see somebody get hurt. Do you think he could do, him a little bit. Do you think that Chris could do 20, what is it, 17 years? Does it end up being about 17 years?
I think something like not enough, but yeah, about that. It's just, yeah, yeah, I think so.
Do you think that it's in him to do those 17 years, or do you think
Um, I mean, he's been in county for what, over two, close to three, maybe a little over 2.5. I don't know. Um, like I said, prison's a little different. I don't know how much different. I think the rules are more strict. I think you have a whole different kind of people that you're dealing with because in county, people might only be in there for a week for something stupid and getting out, so they're not going to screw around and get in trouble.
exactly?
And in prison, people are less likely to care about getting in trouble because they're there anyway.
Right.
Chris has a very smart mouth. I think, I mean, obviously, yeah, he can do the time. He's got no choice but to do it. But I could see him getting in trouble with his mouth and getting in fights to prove, I think he's going to go in there with the attitude like, I got to kick somebody's ass so people think I'm tough. And I think that's what's going to happen because he's going to want to try to prove himself when
Right.
he first goes in. So
Right.
right off the bat, I think he's going to already get himself in trouble. Um, a lot of people are saying, oh, he'll kill himself or something. I don't, you saw him stand up and speak yesterday as if he and Brianna and Corey were a happy family. And
Right.
I'm so sorry you lost Corey. I wanted to yell out, motherfucker, we didn't lose Corey, you killed him. What are you talking about? Lost him. He's not lost, he's dead. You
Right.
know, did you hear that
I
speech?
did. I did hear that. And, nobody, I mean, I didn't buy into it. Nobody bought into that.
Well, even the judge told him so. And about the 14 letters that were written by family or friends, whatever, stating what a great father, the judge is like, that video doesn't show me that. And what did the judge say? Something is like a picture is worth 1,000 words, the video
What a
is worth
video's worth
10,000 or
10,000.
something.
And that's
Yeah.
why it was like watching the judge. It was like 1 minute we were like, oh, he's gonna,
Yeah, like
and
which
then
way
the
is he
next day it was
going?
like a roller coaster. It was an emotion. I said to myself, this family has got to be on it 10 times worse than we
Oh
are
yeah.
watching this. Um, just absolutely horrible. But the letters just took me out. And I mean, I think, and it's just incredibly just so unjust. The justice system needs a
Yeah.
total rehaul.
I just felt like the judge had already made up his mind. Why put us through getting up there and reading those letters if it wasn't going to make a difference? I mean, was it to make us feel better? You know?
I would think so. Let me tell you that I thought he made his decision. That's a decision that you don't make off the cuff. I mean, so I
Right.
think that
Exactly.
you would make that decision, and um I think he was, and I understand why I'm seeing this differently than you because it's not my grandson, it's not my daughter, but I took it as I understand all the emotion that's going on here, and I think it's horrible, but I can't punish him on emotion. I can only punish him within this box. And
Yeah.
within this box, there is one charge, which is marijuana, that I see that went through. I don't know. These other things have come up, but there is no continuation of them.
Right.
So, how do I punish on those? So, I mean, I that's what he was saying. Of course, if it was his grandchild and he had any say so about it, I think he would do something completely different, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I it's just that it's too bad that other things that became a pattern, like had you have known about the the report to CPS with the other child, had you have known about that, maybe it would have made a difference in your reporting because you didn't know about that until after. Am I correct?
After, and then when I brought it up to DCP&P, they told me they couldn't speak about that. Had nothing to do with us.
But it, but that pattern is one of the. It's like the left leg to what the right leg did. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I know.
It's
I
in.
know.
You need them both, and it
Yeah.
went from one kid to your kid is what it went, and
Yeah.
it should have. So that's the saddest bit of all is that obviously none of this had to have happened, and
Yeah.
um had things have been handled differently, there would have been enough red flags for you to have made a more informed decision and been able to
Right.
fight fair. You weren't able to fight fair, and
No.
that's the worst bit in all of this.
No. And do you know, after all of this time, yesterday, I am still seeing people say, where was the mother? Oh, the grandmother's on there. And where was she? Why didn't she help? And then I'm finding that I'm trying to comment on all these like court TV, when they ran it, people making these negative comments about us. And I'm trying to answer people back like, you have no clue. You didn't read the whole story. You don't know the whole story. But I know you'll probably have to edit this out. But to those people, I just want to say, go fuck yourself. I
Yeah,
know what I did.
I won't
I
edit.
know what I did for my grandson. And I know what my daughter did. I know what my ex-husband did. Is I have to give him credit. He made phone calls. My youngest daughter made phone calls. We had friends calling and making the reports. We did what we could do, but we didn't break the law. I guess if we wanted to break the law, maybe the outcome would have been different. But I think in the end, had Brianna packed up and ran away with Corey, this still would have happened because then she would have had no contact with Corey and Corey would have been just with Chris 24/7.
She would
So
have
I
had to have
still
lived
think it would
with
have
that.
happened.
And she would have had to have lived with that. And you guys
Exactly.
could go to sleep at night knowing you did the right thing. Because listen, there's nothing wrong with having trust in a system that should be there to protect the children.
I didn't trust the system. I had no choice because I didn't want to break the law. Trust me, I didn't trust them. I told them about themselves. I told them they weren't doing the right thing. And I told them what was going to happen to Corey. But I didn't want to break the law. We talked about sending Bree away with Corey, but then we also talked about, well, how would he go to school? Because you'll be hiding. You can't send him to school if you're hiding. I mean, trust me, we thought this through. We really thought it through.
Yeah.
And we decided, oh no, they'll eventually do something. Somebody's got to do something at this, we
That's
kept
what I'm
thinking.
talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Because I heard Brianna say, it was this time, maybe they do something this time, maybe they do something this time, maybe they do something this time. And
Right.
so I don't know if you're allowed to speak on this, But are you going to I don't want to say it's not about money. It's about changing the law. But are you
Right.
going to get a suit against either the Gregor
Oh, yeah, that's moving right along. That's already been in the process. I'm not involved. I didn't file the suit. It was for um Brianna filed it, being the, I don't know if you call it the executor of Corey's estate. I don't know the proper terminology.
right,
She's his next of kin, so she was able to file the suit on Corey's behalf.
right.
But get this, did you know that David Gregor tried to stop that and he wanted to be appointed
I
the executor of Corey's estate? And Brianna's attorney laughed him out of the courtroom, and so did the judge in that matter. Like, are you kidding me? Your son is in jail. This was before he was charged with the murder, I think, and it was just endangerment.
right.
And this man, wanted to be appointed over Corey's estate. So if there were any lawsuits or anything, they would benefit from it. And it
So
got laughed out of court.
so I just, I was talking about that, but I was also talking about suing the Gregor family.
They shuffled out of that courtroom so quick, I didn't see them when I got outside, because I was going to approach them and say, do you think you owe us an apology yet? You know, but obviously the way he stood up in there,
I
I
don't
could
think
see
he
it.
thinks that they did anything. I don't really think that
No, they didn't do
they did
anything wrong.
anything wrong. Nothing.
Nope.
I don't think they think that Chris did anything wrong. I
No,
really
no,
don't think that.
they're blaming us for Chris being where he is. It's
I
our fault that Chris
That's
is
what
in
I
jail.
heard. I heard Brianna say that. I heard Brianna say that real
Yeah,
quick. I was
it's bizarre.
unbelievable. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But, so last night, so many emotions. And by the time I got home and, you know, I just said to myself, I'm calling an attorney Monday. And I don't expect that it's going to get anywhere, but I'm going to attempt to do it
Why?
anyway,
Why do you not think it would get anywhere?
because the system has failed us for 3.5 years. Why would this go anywhere? I have no faith. And listen, I'm going to tell you something. I used to, have such respect for police officers and law enforcement of any type. But after this, I mean, I know when you go to the police station and, oh, this person's doing this to me, and, they want to say that it's a civil matter because there's a child involved in custody and they don't want to help. But there were times that my local police department, not here where I currently live, but in Jamesburg and in Monroe Township, they could have reprimanded him. Maybe they couldn't have arrested him for slashing my tires, even though they found him at 2 a.m. right down the street from my house after it happened. You know, he chased me at high rates of speed through town with Corey in the car, and they pulled him over right down the street from my house after that happened. Maybe there was nothing that they could have issued a ticket for,
Excuse me. Was
but
that
how about
Chris?
just,
I'm sorry. Was that Chris or
that
David?
was Chris.
Okay.
Chris.
Okay.
How
Okay.
about just saying to him, dude, back off, leave these people alone? Like, if a cop would have just maybe been a little stern with him, but instead, officer, my father's a highly decorated, that makes me want to throw up, because these officers, I don't know if any of the cops that I have dealt with will ever hear this on your show or any other, but if they would have just forgotten who David Gregor was, and they're not going to tell me that it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, it does. They stick up for each other. Policemen stick up for each other,
No,
you know. And if somebody just would have said, hey, dude, like, enough. We're getting calls about you 2 and 3 times a week. Like, leave these friggin' people alone. Maybe it wouldn't happen like this. Maybe Chris would have been like, oh, wow, somebody's yelling at me and telling me no,
yeah, maybe I
you
can't get
know?
away with this. Maybe, yeah.
Right. And it's so unfortunate, because some of the police department were, some of the officers were bad mouthing me to the Gregor family, which gave them ammunition, and I thought everybody ignored this poor little child that's in the middle of all this because they wanted to talk about me, you know, just doesn't make sense. And so, with that being said, I don't disrespect authority. I mean, if I get pulled over by an officer, I'm respectful. I do what they tell me, but I don't hold them up on that pedestal like I used to.
Right, right,
And that's sad, that I don't feel safe. I don't feel like they're there to protect me because they didn't protect my grandson and they didn't help my family when this was going on. And I feel like they could have.
right, right, right. That's horrible.
And
Absolutely
I
horrible.
know you wanted to talk about sentencing, but I want to ask you, do you recall during trial seeing those two Barnegat officers on the stand that went to do the welfare check to Chris's house
I
in Barnegat?
I was one of them a female?
No, there were two young male
I
cops.
don't
One,
remember. I honestly don't. I'm sorry.
I don't know. One was a trainee and one was maybe a 7-year veteran, 5 year. He'd been on the force 5 years. Something. They were both young guys. But the only thing I can say is, what the fuck? You go to a house, there's a child, bruises are visible.
Right, 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 right. I
How?
remember hearing about this. I don't
Yeah,
remember seeing the actual testimony. I'm
right.
sorry.
It was brief, but to me, okay, both of those cops felt that what they saw was enough for them to make a report with DCP&P, but it wasn't enough to say, hey, maybe, hey, DCP&P, maybe you better get out there tonight. Not the 24-hour standard, whatever that you
Right,
have.
right,
What? Like,
right,
how
right,
about we not question this kid near this big giant man who's the one being accused of beating
right,
him?
right, right, right.
And so like I'm going on a letter writing campaign this week because I'm writing to the chief of police in Barnegat. Retrain those guys because they fucked up. Sorry, my language, but
No, 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 no.
they
They're
screwed up.
supposed to be working for. I, I just, you know, it's so it's everywhere these kids are being let down.
Yeah,
Everywhere these kids are just being let down left and
yep,
right.
they are.
But I think it's worse when it comes from a family where there was a cop involved because we
Right,
do hold them to a higher regard. We're supposed to. They're supposed to have been our role models. They're supposed to have been the people that we go to when we feel most vulnerable. That's
right,
the picture that they have given us all these years, especially when you're older, because that's who they were when we were younger. I mean,
right.
this guy is not a young guy. David Gregor, he knew the responsibility of carrying a badge and having that job. And for the love of God, it just honestly seems more important to him how things look, not how things actually were.
And that was evident when he stood in that courtroom
That's
yesterday.
exactly what I was thinking of. Exactly what I was thinking of.
What he should have said was, I'm sorry that Corey's not here. That wouldn't have meant any blame. It wouldn't be admitting to any wrongdoing. Just, I'm sorry to this family. I'm sorry for my family. I'm sorry, he
Right.
didn't. He got up on there on that little stage that he thought he was on. And it was all about their family name. That's all it was ever
That's
about with those
exactly what
people.
it was about. And the thing is, I don't understand, I don't think that the judge needed to do that. I think the judge should have stuck with his first gut by saying, hey, listen, I gotta punish within this box because they're the family of the victim. I let them speak. Maybe I shouldn't have let them speak so much, but I let them speak. But I'm not gonna punish on that. So there is
Right,
no need for you to speak. And as soon as he said, well, it's not so much about the law, it's more about, and he said social media. I heard that.
right.
And I
Oh
said
yeah,
to myself, oh, this judge will never let this happen. Like, this is bullshit. Like, but
right.
then he let him speak. And to be honest, this wasn't about trying to make your son's reputation better. This was a sentencing because of what your son did to your grandson, his son.
But you wouldn't think that we were there for that, the way he got up to defend his
I
family. And that's what he was doing.
That was
And
insulting, and I would write to the judge about that too, to be honest.
I plan on it because um, when the defense attorney spoke, that's when Chris's family had the opportunity to speak after, before we did. And they declined. They weren't intending to.
Right.
And then after David Gregor heard my truthful impact statement and Brianna's impact statement, and my ex-husband read my youngest daughter's impact statement, David Gregor couldn't let us have the last word. So then he felt the need to get up, and the judge should have said, "No, sir, you had your opportunity and you
He
declined."
did say that, but
Chris,
then he went ahead and let him speak.
right. Chris didn't want his father to speak. Do you know why? Because Chris knows that every word of my statement and Brianna's statement and Nicole's statement were the truth. Chris knows that, and he can't deny it. To everybody else, he might deny it, but deep down, Chris knew that we were speaking the truth,
Yeah,
and he didn't want his dad up there
I
but the
believe that.
judge still let him talk.
I believe that. And he even said, did you hear the judge say, and your son doesn't want you to speak? Did you hear that? I mean, because you were right there in the midst of everything. I don't know if you got to hear everything or Chris.
Yeah.
And then the camera showed Chris telling his lawyer. I mean, you saw him. He did not.
He didn't want him to
He didn't.
speak.
He didn't.
Nope.
And even so, you see what I'm saying? That guy hasn't learned a damn thing. David
No.
Gregor, I'm not saying Chris learned anything, but
Nope.
Chris took in that everything she says is true, just let it go out there. Then that's this much that he's owning something, this much. The grandfather, nothing. He went backwards. He went backwards because what was more
He
important to him was what was I don't know to for him to how he can't make that video of the treadmill go away. The video he said he never saw. He can't
Yeah.
make that go away. So he's trying to populate with all these flowers that are made from shit, basically. And the truth of the matter is it's still shit.
David didn't like our statement and needed to get the last word yesterday, because that's David Gregor. He has to have the last word, just like Chris. And I want to tell you, there was a part to my impact statement that I decided not to say because I felt like the judge was going to get upset with me. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't say it. But at the end, Chris used to end every nasty text message to me after ripping me up and calling me a fat whore and the cunt and everything else that he would call me. "Have a nice day," he would say. So I wanted to look at Chris when I was coming down, off this stand after my speech. And I wanted to look at him and say, "Have a nice day," and nice suit, because, he was in his jumpsuit.
Right, right,
But I
right, right.
thought, I didn't want to rock the boat and piss off the judge, but I wanted so badly to say that to him. It's just, like I said, 25 years isn't enough. If he comes out sooner in a body bag, that would bring a little more peace to my family, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even better if we were able to watch it happen, but you know, I I'm sure that's not going to happen. But I don't feel any closer to peace. You know, I
Right.
don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, 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 no. I mean, no, because, you know, I don't know how old you are, but you're not going to be far, or you can't be far from what he's going to be when he gets out. And again,
that's exactly what I said yesterday. I'm 53 years old. He's going to be out. And if I weren't in the mental and physical shape that I'm in, I would like to think I would be living a wonderful life right now. He still has the opportunity to come out and have a family and have a life and a career. I don't know what career a convicted, well, I guess he's not a convicted murderer. What do you call what he is if it's not murder?
well, it's manslaughter, isn't it? Aggravated manslaughter that he was
So
charged.
what is he, a convicted
He did.
manslaughterer? I mean,
Well,
what do you call
no,
it?
he did. He is a murderer. That just wasn't the charge.
Right,
You know, what I mean,
right.
he did kill
But I
his.
mean, what kind of job is he going to have? But anyway, the fact is he can still come out and have an opportunity to have a life,
But
and
let me
Corey
tell you
doesn't have
something.
that.
You don't know what's going to be. There are ex-inmates that are making a lot of money on YouTube now talking about what it's like in prison and stuff.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? So the world changed a lot in the 4 years that we went through what we went through as a society. So
Right.
everything online is remote, so I would think that he wouldn't have the hardest time. I don't know what the world's going to look like, 20 in 17 years from now, but I do know that he has an advantage being a man because he can still start a family. And,
Right.
stuff
Exactly.
like that, I think needed to be considered because
Right.
he shouldn't be anywhere by children. He shouldn't be able to
No.
make children, you know,
No.
and he shouldn't be able to have a second chapter of his life when his son barely got through, didn't even get through the first.
Right. And that's how I feel. I mean, he gets the opportunity to come out and live again. Corey doesn't have that opportunity. And real quick, I just want to say, what do you think about the girlfriend sticking by his side who happens to be a teacher? Would you want her teaching your children?
Chances are she ain't going to stay around for too long because, nobody's going to wait 17 years for anybody that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I would think not, but I just the fact that she has been by his side. I mean, I'm almost inclined to go to a Board of Ed meeting and wherever she works, because I've done it in Monroe Township and spoke my mind in the past about other issues. And I almost want to go and just say, how, do you guys realize you have a teacher here who is in a relationship with a man who was committed, who
Convicted.
was convicted of endangering a child, his child, and killing him. And she's at the trial and she's at the sentencing. And, I mean, that would make me very anxious. I feel like I don't know if it's my place to do it. I don't live in the town where she lives, but I think the people need to know.
So my feeling would be, if would you want to have known that for your child, and would you have wanted to know that for Corey? Would you have
Of
wanted?
course,
So then I
I
think
would.
there. So then I think
Because it
there.
it makes you wonder what this teacher, like, what is wrong with someone who stands by it's not like he was her husband, and even if it was her husband, how do you stand by somebody? You watch that video, you
Yeah,
know it would make me wonder, like, wow, what's wrong with this teacher? Like, I don't want her around my kid, that would
exactly.
be my opinion.
Right.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
agree. Why would she find that behavior? There's no excuse. Even the judge was like, there's no excuse. I can't find an excuse for that video. So
No.
when you see, when people show you who they are, you need to pay attention. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I don't understand how somebody could stand. I don't know. I don't know,
I
Rebecca.
don't
I
know.
don't know what makes people tick. And the
I
worst
don't
is
either.
that people are going to write to him. People are going to write to him. People are going to send money to him, and because that's what they do to inmates. There's some sort of infamy that people are attracted to, and that shit should stop.
Yeah, he'll be on an episode of Life After Lockup or
You
something,
know,
or
well,
I'm
he
telling
shouldn't
you.
have any of the benefits of this stuff for, like, he's supposed to be being punished. But again, that's not the job of the deputies, or it's protecting them. Unfortunately, their
Right,
punishment
right,
is supposedly not having the freedom, but people adjust to things, and people find
right,
comfort in things. And
right,
after so much time, he's going to feel comfortable there, and it's no longer going to be a punishment because we all get used to shit.
right. He'll be getting his fan mail. People will be putting money on his books. He'll be comfortable.
Exactly.
He'll have something to do. He'll probably get a nice little job in there. I'm sure he'll get accustomed to his surroundings. And I still like to think that's a long time. I don't know if I could do a weekend in jail. I'm not certain it would be for me, but I guess if I knew that I was there for a while, I would make the best of it, if
Right,
that
right,
makes sense.
right.
And, I'm sure that's what he's going to do, but I don't know. I just not enough time, but I knew that obviously they weren't going to let us drag him outside and beat him for punishment. So I knew it was going to be 40 years and I didn't think it was going to be 30. So I said 15 to 20 going into this. So I guess I got a little more than what I expected out of it. But you know, I still was sitting there. He didn't shed a tear. He was wiping his face again. I don't know if you watched, but did
Yes.
you see anything coming out of his eyes?
And no,
And
and
that makes
nobody
me
else
so
did.
mad.
Nobody else did either. A few people were like, the only thing you feel sorry for is getting caught. That's
Yeah,
what.
himself and his situation, of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
And he wouldn't look up at us. I don't know if you were able to watch his face, but he wouldn't look at us when we spoke, even though a couple of times we looked at him directing things towards him, he wouldn't look up.
Right. No,
You
when
know,
you guys were talking, they were only showing you guys speaking.
yeah, if you look, you'll see that he just kept his head down,
Right.
and he was trying to pretend he was emotional, but there I never saw a tear, and it just that bothered me, and I just hope he heard, that the part where I said that Corey asked why his daddy wasn't going to hell. Corey didn't only ask me that one time. Corey would ask me that after every visit. Gma, why isn't my daddy going to hell? And for a little boy to say that, I mean, it was repeatedly, but I hope Chris heard that. And I don't know if that would hurt his feelings, because I don't believe that he has any feelings,
Right.
except, I don't know, but it was so hard to hear him stand up there and say, I loved my son and
Yeah.
we did this and we did that. And, it just, I couldn't stand hearing that.
Yeah. I'll tell
It
you
was
what stood
bullshit.
out that would have stood out if I were Chris, when Brianna said, and he still loved you.
I know.
That was just, oh God, that was so heartbreaking, because she had said something like that to me, and I thought, because kids, they want to be loved by that,
He
like.
just kept thinking that eventually it would get better. I think that's what Corey thought it was, maybe one day if I do everything right, my daddy's going to love me. He's going to be a daddy, and he did love him, because he just expected that one day maybe he was going to be a daddy, but
Right,
just
right.
didn't happen. It just never happened. But like I said, Corey knew that, at the end, he knew nobody could help him. He knew he was going to die and he accepted it.
Yeah.
And at 6 years old, he was more of a man than Chris will ever be. And, I think that's very sad that this baby knew that that man was going to kill him. And he still went to his house. He didn't put up a fight anymore. He knew it was over. We couldn't win. And he knew that. And that makes me so mad. And for the judge to just, I expected the 10 years for the endangerment. I really did. I get the other part, sort of, I guess, but I don't get why he couldn't do 10 years. And maybe he said it and I didn't hear it. I don't
I
understand it.
don't know, again, that whole thing was an emotional roller coaster, and that wasn't a relation to us, so I can only imagine. But there were things that I understood, and I don't think that he found it. I don't think that he found it in that little box that I was talking about, that he's trying to find punishment in. Even though, I mean, he, like, the thing about the video, I really thought that I really thought that he was on side with that, the judge. Like, I mean, I really did, but that's, excuse me, where he could have given him the more time.
That's what I was thinking.
I
That could have
thought,
made up for what he couldn't give him on the other side, but
and he seemed really, like, that video seemed to really, stay with him. So, but I think that there had to be more than that. I don't know. I don't want to guess,
I
especially if
don't know.
something is so serious. But I mean, I understand, because I was confused. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm like, I don't understand. I was confused, and so there were people in the comments, because I and then there was, for time served and 85% of the sentence and all of that, and basically most everybody said, so it's about 17 years. But you know, it could be more if he misbehaves himself, as you know. He could
Yeah.
get more time. If he's got a problem, like if he's got a drug problem and he's gonna try to find a way to satisfy that in there, that's a very easy way for him to get more time. So he might
Right.
get.
And that's what I was thinking. Somebody might offer him something. And, some inmates may set him up just because, not maybe beat him up, but set him up with something like that just to get him in trouble. They may hide, I don't know, what do they call that? A shank or whatever, where somebody
Yeah,
might hide that in his cell to get him caught with that. I
right.
mean, people may do things like that to him and, prove that it isn't yours, you're
Yeah,
going to
you
get more
can't,
time.
you really can't prove like that seriously. If you have two
Right.
people say and one person saying the other thing, the two people saying it is gonna win. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I just knowing him, he's either going to go in there on day one and try to beat somebody's ass just to prove that he's a big bad boy, so people stay away from him, or he's going to try to get with a certain group of people and fit in, and he'll have to pay them for that, of course, which I understand that that's already happening. Or he's just going to get his ass beat, maybe from his smart mouth. And from my understanding, if you get jumped and you fight back, you're both getting in trouble. I
Yes,
mean, so,
absolutely. Yep,
I
yep.
mean, I don't know how it works in there, but I'm
Yeah, but
assuming,
that's the truth. Yeah, they don't go for that's it. There's like, um, it's not fair, and that's the only good thing about it. It's not fair, but it shouldn't be.
yeah,
There's politics in the prison. If David Gregor was a difficult person on the force with coworkers, it could be he also spread down to the COs in the jail. So if he's
right,
so arrogant, and we see that, I don't know what kind of boss he was, what kind of coworker he was, but now you're counting on the same group of people trying to protect your son.
right.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know how much pull he's going to have at this point. Or, I don't even think his dad has had any pull here, in Ocean County Jail. Um, I just feel that, everything Chris did prior to what just recently happened with Corey, his dad made it go away, which created the monster that Chris is today. But I don't think David won't have any pull in prison. I think, like you said, if anything, there may be a corrections officer, somebody that just despises somebody like him.
yeah.
And they may just leave a door unlocked or something. I've heard that statement made several times, or that comment that they say, oh, well, doors get unlocked sometimes or left unlocked by accident or whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely so. And
No,
sometimes not everything is on camera. There are cracks and crevices, corners that
right.
you can't see. You can't see things. So,
Yeah, you can't. I don't think, do they film them in the bathroom, like when they're in the shower? I don't know.
I don't think that they actually have video. They might. I don't think that I don't know. I worked in a jail again, and it was different because in the jail the showers were in small little cell blocks. Like the cell
Mhm.
blocks were at that point, there were like six, and then there was like an open shower, more or less. And there were deputies walking by, everybody could see, it is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and that's, he's already had to deal with that more or less. I think in prison, there's probably, I would assume it depends on the size of the jail as well, that there would be the open setting of the showers. But it would probably be in each wing. I don't know how many inmates would be in the wing he would be in, but he's got to
yeah.
go through those doors and hear the cat calls. He's a blonde young man. People are going to think he's a cutie pie.
Yeah, and he's a new person to them. Somebody new, so I'm sure he's going to get attention when he gets brought in,
Right,
you
right.
know, but
It's not going to be comfortable for him the
no.
first bit of time that he's there.
Right. But like I said, he's going to do, one of three different things. He's going to try to get in a fight and look like the big bad guy, so people stay away from him, or so he'll think. He's going to try to get with a particular group and buy their protection, or he's going to get his ass beat and fight back and get himself in trouble,
Well,
you
that's the
know?
thing. He can't just walk in there and take a poke at somebody because you could be taking a poke at a gang member, and then
Right.
you now got a
Exactly.
hundred people that are now looking. Now you got a target on your head. So
Right. Like he should probably sit back and take it all in for a little while before he decides which direction he wants to go in, but I don't know that he will.
would it matter if he gave you a genuine apology?
No, because it's not going to be genuine. It's yesterday proved my point. It was, how when you really don't want to apologize to somebody, so I might say to you, well, I'm sorry that you feel that's not an apology to me.
Right.
So it'll never happen. And, you know, I sat and thought about, but I knew it wouldn't happen. But imagine, like, had he broke down and was really crying and pleading with us yesterday, would that have changed how I feel about him? No, because what's done is done, and that doesn't bring Corey back,
Right.
and he'll never be forgiven as far as I'm concerned. And
Right.
like I said before, so many people, oh, the forgiveness is not for him, it's for you. I don't understand that
That's your
statement.
call. That's your call. That's your call. I
Yeah,
understand it, but you have to get there. Like you'll know if you ever get there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like you'll know, and you might not. That you might not get there. I can't imagine getting. I can't imagine getting there. Especially when there is when there's they're they're blaming you for why he's there. I mean, they're blaming you for why their
yeah,
son is there, not taking
right.
responsibility for. So they're living in, well, he had sepsis and Brianna didn't do anything. And because Chris was the last one that had him in his care, that's what happened here. That's what they're living with in their head. So my
Yeah,
question is, what about all those bruises? Like, how do you make them disappear in your little theory? Like in
right.
your theory, how come that
And
doesn't exist?
and the video, like that was okay. I mean, that wasn't a
Well, he
big
never
deal.
saw the video. In all fairness, he said, of course he saw the
True.
video. We know
But
he
he
saw
saw
the
it
video
yesterday. He was in the courtroom yesterday, and well, no, not yesterday. It was
a
during
month ago.
trial.
Right, a month ago. Right,
He
right.
saw it. Did he walk away when they played it? He saw it. And he saw it way before that. He saw it way before any of us because I know his dirty little attorney showed it to him.
But he saw the video for no other reason than he was a cop trying to get his son off the hook.
And a control freak. He watched that video. But yesterday I watched it back, but I really couldn't see his parents or his sister and brother's faces up close. I don't know about you, but if tables were turned and Brianna was sitting at that defense table and Chris's family was reading those heartfelt impact statements, they would have had me sobbing, even though there's the issue between us. Those people didn't shed a tear.
That was their grandson too. I mean, that was their
Supposedly, they
grandson too.
loved so much and took pride in raising him and the sports and that his education, everything changed when he came to them. They made Corey what he was. And I got to tell you right now, the person who gets credit for Corey's, speech therapy and his speech and for him being the superstar student that he was is none of them, and it's not us. It's Kristen Oyen, his preschool teacher. She set him up to succeed when he left her. He was with her for 2 years. That's who gets credit for Corey, not us, not them. And
No.
for them to try to say that they made Corey the superstar student that he was, they did not. They didn't do that. And Corey wasn't playing sports when he lived in their house. I don't know what they were talking about. Wasn't doing anything. But,
He
again,
wasn't even like he wasn't somebody that liked sports either, Brianna said. He liked to draw.
no.
He liked the
Yeah,
solar
he was
system.
he liked to draw, he liked the solar system, he liked to dance and be silly. I mean, maybe he would have gotten into sports. But, my family, the way with my kids, if they wanted to play a sport, yeah, if you want to play, go ahead. I didn't force anything on them like that. It was up to them. It was
That
never like, you have to do this,
That
you
was the
know?
thing that told me about David Gregor. When Dave, that was the thing that every siren in my being went off, because when he talked about running upstairs and getting all the sports equipment, I said to myself, "Oh, that's the type of guy you are. You're not interested in what other people want. You're interested in how everything looks."
Right. Exactly.
Exactly how you are. And, as soon as you scratch the surface, you saw that. You saw
Yep.
that. I mean, you said that he didn't even want, they didn't even want Corey.
They
There was
didn't.
no remorse for Corey from them in the courtroom.
No, yesterday was not, they still, their kid was just sentenced to 25 years, which is a long time. I'll give you that. It is. Not long enough, but it's a long time. And they're still up there trying to defend their name and their reputation. It's sad,
It is sad. It is sad.
and I got a little annoyed because the judge spoke about who paid for the funeral and blah, blah, blah. And at we gave them a receipt from the funeral home. We gave the prosecutor during trial, but yet it never came into play. So the judge was it was questionable. Did he believe the Gregors paid for the funeral like they'd said in trial? Does he believe that? Because where's my receipt? Not that it matters at this point, but it's just the principle. Like, they didn't, they didn't pay for his funeral.
The credibility of an ex-cop, right? It goes unchallenged, and it shouldn't.
No, because there are some dirty cops out there. There are some good ones out there, but I'm very guarded around law enforcement now. It's
So,
just,
what's your hope, or is it Brianna that should answer the question at a later date for Corey's law?
she's the one working on that. I don't know, you know, if I have any say in it. I would think that law enforcement, police officers, EMS, whoever comes in contact with the child and it's questionable, and there's a question with either parent, like in Brianna and Chris's situation, people had this idea that Brianna was some strung out junkie and that she shouldn't have him, then I think law enforcement, EMS, DCP&P there should be a judge on call 24 hours like they are for restraining orders or whatever. A judge should be contacted whatever time of night. And unfortunately, you should remove that child from both parents until it's investigated. As hard as that would be on a child, it beats getting killed, doesn't it?
It does. It does. A safe
I
way.
would have rather seen Corey removed from both of them and put in a foster home until a full investigation could be done.
Right, right,
He
right,
might still be here. And
right.
I think that should be in this law. They have to train. I don't know who they is. I say they all the time. I don't even know who the hell they, I don't know who I'm talking about, but people have to be trained, the police, the teachers, everybody. Like, they have to do better.
Yeah, they're supposed to report. They're mandatory reporters,
Right.
and you would hope that that's what they would do. I would really
Yeah.
love to know how how much was let down because of who, David Gregor is, and how much was let down just because of our system failing.
Well, I'm going to tell you with DCPMP, they were so impressed with the Gregor portfolio or whatever you want to call it. The one lady, the DCPMP worker, Stacy, came to my little shabby 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment. It was a nice apartment, but wasn't a mansion. Oh, they live in, and she proceeded to describe the home and everybody's education over there. And I said, oh, so when you look around here, Corey must have got his ass beat over here because I live in a 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment and they live in a mansion with a master's degree, each one of them. So they couldn't have beat him over there. It had to happen here. I said, are you crazy? Oh, well, I'm not saying that, but I
Right.
spoke to David Gregor and he's a retired. I said, yeah, I know. But because of him being the retired cop and because they lived in a big home and because everyone had their online master's degrees, well, then the abuse didn't happen. And I think that these social workers need to not be so impressed by their surroundings because abuse can happen in those big, beautiful homes.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely so.
know, you
Absolutely.
can be homeless living in a car. It doesn't mean you're beating your children,
That's right. That's right. That's right.
and I don't know. I just think that, these social workers, they were impressed by what they saw, and they were also intimidated by what or who he was, David Gregor. They didn't want to go against the ex-cop. I think they felt threatened. And I can if I called the police because I was concerned about this, you know, well, you can't get a restraining order against his mother or father. You have to have a domestic relationship with them or something. If that's what my understanding is of getting a restraining order.
I don't know. I've never heard.
So, it's like, or that, well, they live in North Carolina and you
Yeah,
can't
that
get a
I think.
restraining order, based on you feel that they're going to do
Right,
something. They
right,
have to do something before
right,
you get,
right. Or threaten. Right.
right. And let's face it, a restraining order is basically a piece of paper. That's not going to stop a bullet or a knife or a bat.
Or intention. Or any
Right.
strong, real strong intention is not going to either. It can
Right.
often aggravate a situation.
Right. And my only hope now is I know, that all the jail calls are recorded and some were brought to, I guess, the detective's attention during trial. I hope they're not going to not keep up with him right now because I think now more than ever, Chris may want to act out on something because he's mad,
Right, right, right.
So, I mean, I'm sure everybody's doing their job. I kind of say that laughingly because they sure didn't when Corey was here, but I'm hopeful that they're still listening in and, would know if something was being thought about.
Well, I think I'm not 100% sure because this is new to me, but from my understanding, like you could buy these phone calls now, these jail phone calls, you know.
Hmm.
So if you could buy them, can you pick any inmate? I mean, like, so are they all recorded? They're all recorded. There's no
Yeah,
doubt that they're
I
all recorded.
guess, but you know,
I'm
my
not telling
thought,
you to buy them, but what I'm saying is so knowing that and knowing that they're all recorded, but he was stupid enough to say things before and try to
right.
get his mom to, right? Didn't he try to get his mom? He was trying to coax her
Oh
to,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, like, he's not very bright.
No, he's still not, he has not learned. He's been sitting in jail for over 2 years and he's still committing crimes, so to speak,
Right, right.
by
Or
doing
thinking
the
he's
things he's
strong,
doing.
or thinking he's smarter than the system.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know where this all ends. I mean, it's not over yet to me. Like yesterday was not the end for me. I know Brianna, I think when she says she's happy with the sentence because she knows it could have been maybe less time.
right,
I
right.
think Brianna's happy to try to move on and get past this. I mean, she'll never forget Corey,
Of
obviously,
course.
but just always having a court date every 6 weeks and that weighs heavy on the mind. And I think that's a relief for all of us not having to go back to court. But it's so sad hugging the detective and the prosecutors yesterday and the victims advocates because I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to see you guys. I mean, it's crazy to say that, right? But we've been with them for 3.5 years. And,
Right.
I said, well, I'm just going to have to come here for, on behalf of another family then so I could see you guys or whatever, but it's, now it's like, now what? It's over for us, but is this going to happen to another kid?
I don't
How
know.
do
I
we change
think
it?
you just kind of answered your own question. I think in time you might want to consider helping other parents
But
and
that's the
grandparents.
plan. I mean, we've done some things with a lot of donations that we have gotten. We donated some money to a father who was going through a custody battle with the mother of his children and couldn't afford an attorney. So some of the donations that we had gotten prior, we donated towards his legal fees. I mean, our mission is to help other people that find themselves in the situation that we were in. And maybe they don't need money, but they just need somebody to come to court and show them how to fill out the paperwork, or, that's kind of what we want to do, you
That's
know?
excellent. That's priceless. Absolutely
Yeah.
priceless.
And just be there. I mean, I don't claim to know the court system, as you know. I still don't know anything after all this time. But just having just another regular person sitting there with you could be helpful. And if we can do that for somebody else, we want to do that. They want somebody to go to court with them. If they want to ride to court, just somebody to sit with them. So, we want to do that,
Absolutely.
so
I think that's a great thing. I think that, to turn it into something positive, that's how Corey's name keeps going.
yeah, yeah,
How the
definitely.
legacy keeps going on, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but we've done a lot of other things in Corey's memory. Like the first Christmas we had all of our Justice for Corey members, we made an Amazon list and everybody bought toys and we donated them to the school that Corey attended in Barnegat. I mean, I believe there were over 300 gifts that we were able to donate to the school. And of course, then the school nurse and everybody knew who the families were that needed help at that time. We did a winter coat drive. We've done where we had everybody buy books and we donated them to the Monroe Township School District in Corey's memory. I mean, we're trying to do good things in his memory, little
Would you
things like
let
that. We
us
can't.
would you let us know, because I would be honored to put that on our pages and stuff to
Yeah,
continue.
I don't know what our next thing is going to be. It
Please
just,
just let
comes to me and then we plan it, but right now we've been so tied up with
yeah,
getting this part done. Maybe now we'll have more time to focus and do things more often for people.
right, right.
But I know my friend, it's not here in New Jersey. He's in New York. Tales from the Pen. I don't know if you've seen him, Freddie. He does like a backpack thing for kids in the Bronx or wherever he's from.
I'm familiar with
So he buys all these
that.
backpacks and school supplies, and
Right,
we don't have time to do that right now because I mean school's going to be starting soon. But that's a nice thing to do for
right,
people.
absolutely,
There's
absolutely.
just so many things that we can do in Corey's memory. And I want to continue to do those things and do them more often if I
Right.
can.
Well, let us know when something like that comes about, because I will always plug that in the videos. We sent you a check.
That's a great thing that you did, and we appreciate that.
I'm just sorry I couldn't make it. I'm so sorry that I couldn't make it. So was there a nice amount of people that showed up, I hope, I pray?
You know what? Like I said, I got pulled over with Bree to the prosecutor's office, but from my understanding, the overflow room was full and the courtroom was full, and there
Good,
were still some people that stayed outside, I believe.
good.
So, I mean, on the little event thing that Brianna had, it showed that 55 people were coming. Did 55 come? Probably. I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know.
okay.
But it was so hard to like when I go to court, even with the other hearings, I have tunnel vision. I see where I'm going and what, like, I don't see anything around me. And that's how I felt yesterday. But
Well,
we made it through it. It's over. It's that part of
that
this
part of it's
case
over.
is over. Yeah.
Now the good
And
stuff hopefully good stuff
yeah,
come from now.
yeah. Like I said, I want to, set up something that we do yearly, like every year or certain things, we maybe the backpack and school supplies in the summer, winter coats, Christmas things. I want to do the same things every year. So we're on a schedule and we know what we're doing each year. And, in Corey's memory, I just want to keep doing those things, and just, I don't want anybody to forget them. I like the book idea because Corey liked books. So I tried to, Corey's teacher, Miss Peace, that was in Barnegat, that was his last teacher before he passed away. I can't think of what the website's called now, but teachers go on and make these little wish lists for their classroom. And when I see Miss Peace, I always try to do something, because she was good to Corey. She testified actually at the trial. And so I always try to make it a point to donate something to her classroom. So
Right.
just little things like that so people don't forget Corey. I
Well,
just want to make sure.
if you could send me links to things like this, I have no problem putting them on the page because the community,
Great.
the community,
Thank you.
you and for Brianna and for Corey, and
Yeah,
anything you need, I mean that. Anything you need, I can help you with. I'm
I
happy to
appreciate that.
need.
I just want to say something also. I know I'm saying a lot, but I know, I feel like the Gregors and other people, um, I mean, Chris actually did say to the ex-girlfriend who visited him last week, he told her that Brianna made a GoFundMe because she was having a baby. That never happened. We had a baby shower and members in the group wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to send things. So we shared her registry and people sent gifts. We didn't have a GoFundMe because Brianna had a baby, so stuff like that bothers me. And I can tell you that when money is sent and it's sent for a reason, that's what we use that money for. We don't go on vacations with people's money. We do what we say that we were going to do, with the money that's given. And, I just hate that the Gregors paint us to be like these dirtbags, that are trying to profit off of Corey's death,
I didn't hear
you
about
know?
that, to be honest with you. So I don't know how far that got online. I didn't see one comment about that. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, just in the past, there, people have said like, oh, they had a GoFundMe for this or that, and that's not true. And any GoFundMe's that were made are not made by us personally. People do it.
Right.
We don't make them for ourselves, and when they're done, they're always for a specific reason. I just wanted to share that so people realize that if it says it's for this, that's what it's used for. You
Okay.
know, I believe there was one so Brianna could get a cemetery plot next to Corey, and I can show you the deed to the plot. We bought it. There
Right.
it is. That's what we did. Everything that we say we're going to do, we always did. And I just want people to know that we're not out going on vacation with their money and,
Right.
living it up. It's just not the case.
Right.
So,
I don't know anybody that's thinking you are. I mean, I haven't seen any of that online. So whatever the Gregors are saying, it's not loud enough for there's 12,000 people as part of the community that I'm part of, right? So not
right.
one person. And let me tell you something, they could be hard. No offense, guys, but they could be hard.
I've learned a lot of people can be.
So, and I didn't have one person say, I heard this or I heard that or I did,
Right,
and
right,
and they have a way to email me, so they don't have to put something like that online for everybody to jump on them about. They can email
right,
me privately and say, "Hey, listen, Toddy, we saw this." You know what I'm saying? I haven't had
right,
one of those. So, however loud the Gregors are, it's not hitting social media that I'm aware of. I don't
right,
anybody saying anything bad about the Micciolo family, not one person.
right. Yeah, well, I'm glad, because that would be horrible, if they were. But I've seen things, not recently, but just in the past. And I know, during the trial, Galucci had alluded to that, something like Bree made a GoFundMe or, or whatever,
Right.
so, but anyway.
Well, that was
So
his job
what
to
is,
make her look bad. His job
yeah,
was to make her look bad.
yeah, but did you hear how he spoke about her yesterday?
Yeah. I wrote something about
Wow.
it. I was like, well, what happened when he was beating her up a month ago?
Right. I thought, wow, look at that. How about that?
Yeah.
But it's funny. I don't even know if he made any statements after to any of the media that was there. Did you see anything out there? I didn't see anything.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I
Yeah.
was emotional. I mean, shame on me, but not my child. But I had a headache afterwards because I had cried throughout your guys's
It was tough.
testimony, you know, and when
It
I
was
cry, I get
tough.
a headache. So I had a headache at the end and I was just so emotionally drained. I mean, and again, please understand that I'm not feeling anything that you or Brianna, are feeling. And it was emotional and draining for a lot of people in the community and me. So I can
Oh, yeah.
knows what you were, going through and
Yeah.
just
It was leading up to having to make that statement. I don't do well in crowds of people and speaking. And, you know, um, I just remember, when we were at the prosecutor's office, they said that Vito, my ex-husband, would read my youngest daughter's statement. He would go first and I would go second, and then Bree would follow up. And I just remember we got in the courtroom and Vito went. And then when he was coming back, Brianna's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." But I did it anyway. And I didn't want to get upset when I was reading it because I just felt it was so important to get the words out. But it was hard not to get upset.
right.
But, I watched it when I got home and I thought I did all right.
You
I
did
think
well.
I got everything out that needed to be heard,
Everything
you
was
know.
understandable. Everything was,
Yeah,
we heard everything. And you got upset, I want to say maybe where we heard it in your voice, maybe 70% through when maybe the 70% mark was when, we started hearing a crack in your voice because I thought to
yeah.
myself, wow, she's a stoic woman, man. I'd have broken down 100 times already.
It was hard. I think the night before when I read it to Gina, my son Gino's girlfriend, and my older son Jimmy at home, I think I broke down more than I did on yesterday because I was so determined. I needed to be heard yesterday and it was my only opportunity.
Right.
So that's what kept me going. It was hard. It was hard. And I was so proud of Brianna. And I think she got to say some things to Chris. I think the judge allowed it. I don't think, I mean, he didn't say anything. So I was happy that she got that off of her chest. I really was,
Yeah, I was
that,
surprised that she was able to like talk. She was talking to him, and I thought,
yes.
why is the judge allowing this? Because I
Yeah.
didn't think so either. But then he spoke later. The judge spoke later, and he said that he shouldn't have allowed some of the stuff, like I said. But
Right.
how do you tell a parent, listen, man, put that on hold, just talk about, what I mean? Like, you're gonna look
Right.
like an asshole doing that. You're gonna look
Yeah.
like a robot, not somebody that you could sympathize, empathize, or anything with if you're gonna tell a mom, yeah, you can't talk about, can you talk about this? Yeah, no.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
But
I think that I found out that my channel is just about like injustice, and I'm gonna stay on the trigger of that. And
okay,
if you want
good.
to help with anything with Corey, and please, please, please stay in touch. I mean, you have my email,
Oh, yes, definitely. I definitely will.
and I think that you're an amazing woman, and God bless you. And I'm so sorry
Thank you.
how we met, but
Well, I'm glad we met.
I am too. I am too. And I promise, if I get myself through New Jersey, I'm calling you up. I'm gonna hit
All
you up.
right.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you
But
for
we will stay in
everything.
touch, and thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I know it was a long interview, but a very important interview. Probably one of the most important interviews, or one of the most important content that I put out on this channel. Again, I joke about a lot of things. This is something that I do not joke about. Guys, I really would like to have Corey's money for Corey to come from this channel as one of the 4 or 6 organizations that this channel will be donating to regularly. So I'm all for having us do this for Corey to keep his name alive and to continue to help the Micciolo family. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much for giving us this time today. Don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday. Always be kind. Always be kind, guys. And remember, children are sacred. They're sacred. All right, guys. Thanks.